Okay, hi everyone, good morning. Um, the topic today, as you see, is actually the mitzvah in the Torah to love our fellows the way we love ourselves. It's, of course, in the context of what's going on in the last year with the coronavirus and with all the not simple things that are happening around us politically and everything. Sometimes events that we are facing force us or made us should make us deal with the mitzvahs of the Torah that are constant, but sometimes on certain times are more crucial, more important to work on. So we want to try to learn in depth the mitzvah of ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha in the Torah. So first of all, we have to be at this time much more sensitive to ourselves and to the society around us, to each in every individual that we meeting or in social contact with. When we go to the Torah, this mitzvah is interestingly part of mitzvat kedusha. It's mentioned in the Torah in Sefer Vayikra. In the mitzvah is ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, ani Hashem, and it's mentioned in the Torah in Parshas Kedoshim. Parashat Kedoshim is a parsha when Hashem commanded us as a nation to be holy. So here's the original in the Torah in Hebrew: וידבר השם אל משה לאמור דבר אל כל עדת בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם קדושים תהיו כי קדוש אני השם אלוהיכם. If you need the translation, I have some translation over here. If you need this, Hashem spoke to Moshe and says, speak to the whole community of Bnei Israel and tell them, you should be holy, because I'm Hashem, your God is holy. This is the beginning. This is the first psukim, the first verses in this chapter 19 in Sefer Vayikra. That under it there are many things that shows us how to be holy. Many instructions, many mitzvot. Okay, let's jump to verse 16. It says over there, there are a few things that connected to the relationship between a Jew and his fellow Jew, and 3 psukim, 16, 17, and 18. לא תלך רכיל בעמך, לא תעמוד על דם רעך, אני השם. לא תשנא את אחיך בלבביך, הוכח תוכיח את עמיתך ולא תישא עליו חטא. לא תיקום ולא תיטור את בני עמך, ואהבת לרעך כמוך אני השם. So you see, ואהבת לרעך כמוך is here at this things. If you need the English translation, it's here. ואהבת לרעך כמוך, love your fellow as yourself. I'm Hashem. So the major key to understand the depth of it is how it's connected to Kedusha. And what is the idea of Kedusha, of holiness? What is it? Hashem is holy. But Hashem commands us to be holy, and part or implication of being holy is to love your fellow the way you love yourself. Now, if we'll analyze this last sentence, love your fellow as yourself. I'm Hashem. So we have to ask a few questions. First of all, why it's mentioned over here that Hashem is Hashem? So apparently is because Hashem said in the beginning of the chapter, Kedoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani Hashem. Holy you should be because I'm holy. So it's repeat itself over here by this commandment of love yourself, love your fellow the way you love yourself, because I'm Hashem. There is another mitzvah in the Torah connected to love, and this is the mitzvah to love Hashem Himself. We say it every day in Shema. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha. You should love Hashem. So the questions, again, that we have to ask about how you perform this mitzvah are the following. First of all, what is love? What is love? Second, why Hashem commands us to love our friends? Actually, the exact translation of the word re'acha, ve'ahavta le're'acha kamocha. The exact translation is not your neighbor. Your neighbor in Hebrew has a completely different word. Your neighbor is shchencha in Hebrew. It doesn't say over here shchencha, your neighbor. And it's not even your fellow. Re'acha is your friend. So Hashem commands us to love our friends. What is the meaning of this? If they are my friends, why I need any commandment to love them? I'm connected to them anyways. They're my friends. And how could you command altogether to love someone? Apparently, love is feelings, strong, positive feelings towards someone, right? So feelings are feelings. How could you command about feelings? If you have the feeling, you do not need any commandment. If you do not have a feeling towards someone, how, by commanding you to have the feeling, what? You create the feeling, you pretend like you have a feeling when you don't? What is the mitzvah over here? So we have to understand the concept of love altogether. And especially when it says ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha, how do you love Hashem? So what is the meaning of the concept of love? And this is something very basic, very essential that we have to understand. And if we understand it, we'll understand a lot. Okay, well, we should start. We should start from, the Torah, the written Torah, has, in order to understand the written Torah, you have to know the meaning of the writer. We have the written Torah. The written Torah is the document that we see in front of our eyes. If we do not have the meaning of the one who put those things together and wrote them, even when a human being, writes something, you have the written thing and you have the meaning behind it. If I will write something and let you just read it and try to understand it, the problem will be that you will give your interpretation, your way of understanding what I meant by the written document, right? We have to understand the concept of the word explanation or translation in Hebrew. In Hebrew, how do you say, if I want to verify something, to understand something, so I need explanation. In Hebrew, how do you say explanation in Hebrew? Perush, lefaresh. The key in the holy language, in the Lashon HaKodesh, to understand the real meaning of the word, and every word in Hebrew has meaning, is to go to the root of the word. The root of the word Perush are three letters: Pei, Resh, and Shin. Pei, Resh, and Shin by themselves make a whole independent words in Hebrew. And this is the word lifrosh. Lifrosh is to separate from, called lifrosh. So The real meaning of the word perush is the following. When you have a document, you want to try to understand what's written there. In order to really understand what the real meaning, you have to ask the one who, and that's the only way, to ask the one who wrote it what he or she meant when they write it. If you have just the document and you have no way to contact the one who wrote it, what do you have to do? What left for you is to try to understand what do you understand in it. And here is very important to understand. We have to differentiate between the understanding of the reader versus the meaning of the writer. Because I could understand something that you wrote, and the meaning that I could give to it in many cases will be sometimes not close to what you meant when you wrote it. So the only real explanation of things, how things works, I think something, I have an idea, and then I say it to someone or I write it down. So the write it down or saying it is just a product of my thought. It started from my thought. When you have only the written document, you have no access to my thought. You have the document. And then if you want to understand it, what left for you is try to understand how do you understand it. And this is the big problem of understanding objectively any document, especially when we're talking about the words of God. In order to really understand anything in the Torah, we have to have access to what was the thought, quote, quote, of God before he wrote it. Because he wrote it after he has an idea, like we, right? So this is the entire concept of oral Torah. The written Torah without the oral Torah is actually the meaning of everything in the Torah, that when Hashem dictated the Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu to write it down, he gave them explanation about what is the meaning of the writer, meaning Hashem himself, what the meaning of Hashem by write this, by those words. If you have only the written Torah and you do not have the oral Torah, which is the meaning that was given by the writer themselves, you easily will miss what really the things are, the real meaning of the things. So let's deal with it with this. ואהבת את השם אלוקיך. So the big question is, what is love? How do you love Hashem? ואהבת לרעך כמוך. Love your fellow the way you love yourself. What is the meaning of love? In order to understand it, we have to go to the oral Torah. And let me share with you a story that the Gemara, the Talmud bring in Masechet Shabbat relating to this. So let's just read the story, then analyze it, and then we'll have the key to understand what love is. The source is the Gemara, the Talmud in Masechet Shabbat, page 31, and the Gemara brings a story. And the story is the following. Maaseh ben Ochri echad. Once one non-Jew came to Shammai. I guess you heard about Hillel and Shammai. They were great scholars, great Tanaim in the middle of the time of the second temple by Sheni. We're talking about 1800 years ago. Hillel was the president of the Sanhedrin, of the Supreme Court at the time, and Shammai was his deputy. So the Gemara tells a story that one foreigner, non-Jew, came to Shammai, the deputy to the president of the Sanhedrin, and he told them, "Gaireini al menat shetelamdeni kol haTorah kula kshani omed al regel achat." I want to convert to Judaism. I want you are the authority to convert. Please convert me. Now this non-Jew was smart enough to know that if he want to join the Jewish nation, he has to understand the basic principle of what Judaism is all about. So he knew that he had to learn what is Judaism, what it will obligated him when he want to join the club, to want to join the nation. So he understood that he have to learn the idea, the philosophy of the Jews. So he heard about Torah. And he told him, I know that I have to learn, and I want you to teach me because I really want to be converted, but I have not enough time. Don't send me now to learn for 15 years in yeshiva. I have no time for this. Could you summarize it to me, just in short, what is Judaism? So teach me the entire Torah while I'm standing on one foot. So even if you're acrobat, how long you could stand on one foot? Few hours. So in few hours, you want the entire Torah, to learn the entire Torah. So Shammai look at him and says, so the Gemara says, "D'chafo be'amat habinyan shebeyado." He pushed him with the builder cubit that he has in his hand. He was constructor. Shammai. So he told them, listen, this is not serious. The entire Torah is required more time than few hours or the certain time that you could stand on your one foot. So let me say it in my words, what actually Shammai told him. You want to be converted, you understand that you have to learn what you're putting yourself into. You understand that you have to learn Torah. You have no time, right? Okay, so go home. When you'll have time, come back. Because there are no short ways. You cannot do this. That's what happened with this non-Jew when he came to Shammai. But he didn't give up, and he said, you know what, Shammai could not do it for me under those conditions. Let's go to Hillel. Hillel is the president of the Sanhedrin. So the Gemara says, Ba lifnei Hillel, he came to Hillel. Hillel looked at him, and the Gemara says, Gaire, he told him, okay, I'm going to convert you with your condition. Meaning, to summarize the entire Judaism to one sentence. So he told him, you want to know what the entire Torah is? Amar lo, de'alach sani lechavrach lo ta'aved. Anything that hateful to you, don't do to another person. This is the entire Torah. So we have to ask over here a few questions. First of all, what? That's the entire Torah? What about keeping Shabbat? What about eating kosher? What about all the mitzvahs of the Torah? Now this non-Jew heard about the Torah. Therefore he came to Shammai and to Hillel and told them, teach me Torah. I could assume that he heard about the magic number called 613. He heard about this. He knows that there are in the Torah 613 commandments, mitzvot, right? So how Hillel told him, this is the entire Torah, and it's written over here, Da'alach sani lechavrach lo ta'aved, zoi kol haTorah kula. This is the entire Torah. Really? This is the entire Torah? So we have to continue. There is continuation to what Hillel response to him was. Zoi kol haTorah kula, ve'idach perushahu, and the rest, its explanation, zil gmor, go study, go learn. What actually going on over here? Hillel realized that this non-Jew is honest. He really wants to truly convert to Judaism. Therefore he came to him, and before him he came to Shammai and asked them to teach him Torah. But he wanted it short. So the project was of Hillel to take the entire 600 mitzvahs in the Torah and summarize them to one sentence. And this is the sentence. That's what he told him. You want to know what the entire Torah, what all Judaism is the following sentence. Anything that's hateful to you, don't do to your fellow, to another person. If we look in the Torah, we could not find a mitzvah like this. there is no mitzvah in the Torah not to do to your fellow things that are hateful for you. There is no such a thing in the Torah. What we find in the Torah, the closest to this, the positive way. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You should love your fellow the way you love yourself. So, this is an implication of it. If you love your fellow the way you love yourself, things that you do not like people do to you, don't do to your fellow. So see, Hillel even do not told him one mitzvah the way it is, the way it's written, but the implication of what's written. Now where Hillel took it from, that this is the entire Torah, and what is the meaning ve'idach and the rest, peirushahu, the rest of the mitzvahs in the Torah, let's say he meant ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your fellow the way you love yourself. Let's say so this is one mitzvah in the Torah. There are another 612. So what he told him over here, this one mitzvah need explanation. You know where's the explanation of this one mitzvah? The 612. Really, how? And he told him you have no choice. So you have to learn. You have to go and study. What is the meaning of this? This mitzvah, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, is very hard mitzvah to perform. It seems easy, but actually it's impossible to perform. Of course, if Hashem command us to do it, it's possible. Hashem will not tell us to do the impossible. But let me explain why it's really not simple or very hard. Or you know what? It's impossible to do. Let's go to the words. What are the words of the Torah? Let me show you again the original and the translation. The translation always diminishing the original. But look at the original. What says in the original? Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ani Hashem. There are 5 words over here, and the major one of them are the commandment itself are the first 3. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Now, let's analyze it. The key word over here is the word kamocha. Why it's a key word? Let's see. Look at this. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. As yourself. So before we go to try to understand what the commandment is, when you analyze this, there is a hidden assumption. That's not written here. It's hidden assumption. What is the hidden assumption? The hidden assumption is that you love yourself. This is the basic. We assume that you love yourself. Now, after we assume that you love yourself, love others the way you love yourself. So let me ask first, is that assumption a necessity? Is that for sure? Is it clear? Everyone loves themselves? So probably a normal, healthy person loves themselves. But there are many people who do not like themselves too much. They have problem with their themselves, with their personality. They do not like themselves. There are, I don't know, I met few. I don't know if you. But the hidden assumption is that you love yourself. After we assume that you love yourself, now is the commandment, love the other the way you love yourself. So first of all, the assumption is not a necessity. Not everyone loves themselves. But the first thing that we could learn from this, from the beginning, is if you do not love yourself, you will never ever be able to love others. That's the analysis of those 3 words. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. After we assume that you love yourself, then do the same to someone that's not you, to your fellow, to someone else. But you have to love yourself. If you do not love yourself, and why I think it's important to discuss this. Let's ask ourselves, why a person, we said before, a healthy person, healthy emotionally and in personality, love themselves. So first of all, we have to say to analyze why the right way is to love yourself. Why? And how come there are few people in the world that do not love themselves? So let's start from why naturally you should love yourself if you're healthy. The thing is that many people do not know who they are. In order to love yourself, you have to know who you are. If you do not know who you are, and I'll explain this, you have no way to relate to yourself in the right way. And why it's a problem to know who you are. So many people, if you ask many people, who are you? What will be the answer? Very not, no one really answer it in the right way. Who you are, who are you? So some people will tell you their name. Some people will tell you their profession. Some people will tell you, okay, some people will say, my name is Yankel, or I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm married, I have children. This is not the question. This is not the right answer for the question. Who are you? Who are you is the question over here. The answer is, it's not easy. So okay, let me show you the answer. The real answer is, who are you? A person is a body and a soul. The combination of those two is you. But if we have to be precise, your body and your soul are not really you. You got your body. We got it as a gift. We have no say. No one asked us what kind of body you want. You just was born. That's it. You never choose to be born. No one asked you if you want to be born. Who's going to be your parents? What will be your DNA? If you'll be a male, a female, a Jew, a non-Jew. No one asked us. We just born. That's it. So when you have something that you have no charge or say about it, it's not you. You got it. So you got your body. You got also your soul. You have nothing, no say about what kind of soul, what kind of neshama you're going to get. And there are different kinds, different levels, different. So we have no say about our body. No one asks us. No one asks us about our soul. So when you asked, who are you? You. So the answer about who are you is, I'm not my body. I'm not my soul. I'm not my name. I'm my choices. A human being is a free willer. And this is the only free thing. And this is up to you. You got a body. You got a soul. The question is, what do you do with them? And here is the only thing that could be you, yours, your actions. Because you're free, you could do this way or that way. Anything that you choose from those two options, basic two options, is you. So the exact answer, the right answer about who are you are your choices. What do you do with the body and the soul? Now, many people do not know that they have a soul. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you do not see your soul. You see your body or the reflection of your body. If we want to understand again what the Torah, what Hashem, the creator of the body, of the soul, the creator of the universe, who gave us the Torah and gave us in the Torah this commandment, "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha," we have to understand as much as we can what he meant. How to love yourself first, because we said, "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha," the hidden assumption, you have to have yourself. So what are you? Who are you? What are you? So many people who do not know that they have a soul, and therefore in many cases they do not believe that they have free will, even though they feel that they could do this and that. But philosophically, some people said there is no free will, nothing. So if the truth is that you have a body and you have a soul, even if you do not know that you have a soul, you will never have a chance to know who you really are. So the Torah taught us that we have a soul. We have a neshama. What is this neshama? What is the soul? So the Torah taught us in Sefer Bereshit, in the beginning, in the creation story, that Hashem created us in the image of God. Before Hashem created Adam, it says, "Naaseh Adam b'tzalmenu kidmutenu." I want to create a creature, Hashem says to himself, the Creator says, I want to create a creature that will be similar to me. This is the meaning of Betzalmeinu Kidmutenu. Kidmutenu meaning similar, domeh, similar to us. And the similarity is in this thing only. Hashem is almighty, therefore meaning he could do anything, everything, and he created human being to be in his image in a way. The similarity will be that he will be free willer. The same way no one told or caused God to do something, in this we are similar to Hashem. Hashem himself do not interfere in our choices. So the ability of us to be free willers is because we have a body, which is a physical entity, and a soul, which is a spiritual entity. Both of them give us the field or the ability to be a free willers. So when Hashem commands us, "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha," and in the same words, he said, "Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha," one thing for sure you could deduce from this: it's not a physical, and it's not feelings. If it's a feelings, you could not command someone to feel something. And it's not what many people in the world think about the concept of love, like a physical expression of hugging someone. What is the proof? Same words. "Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha." You could not love Hashem by hugging him, because Hashem doesn't have a body or a spiritual part. Physical part. Because physical is limited by time and space, and Hashem is not limited. Therefore, Hashem has no body. And if Hashem commands us to love him, the field of love is not the physical field, but the spiritual field. Same way, when Hashem commands us to love our fellow friends, or "Ve'ahavta l'reacha," is not physical. It's with the non-physical dimension. Now, what is the non-physical dimension? The soul, the neshama. The love is in the soul. In order to love yourself, you have to understand that you have a soul. If you think the concept of yourself in your eyes is your body, and you're ignoring the soul, either you do not know about it, or you know about it, but you have no idea what is this and how to develop connection between you and your soul, you will never love yourself. And this is the reason that why people do not love themselves. They do things, they achieve a lot of things, let's say in the physical, but they ignore the spiritual. So someone here is feeling that something missing. I mean, your spiritual dimension. And therefore, this is the cause why you do not love yourself. In order to love yourself, first of all, you have to be aware that you have a body and a soul. And whether you are aware of this, understand that there are two opposite entities that The art of life is to understand the tendency of each one of them and coordinate and express them in harmony. Then you love yourself. After you love yourself, you could relate to other people. But in order to love other people, you have to realize that they have a soul. If you understand yourself as a body, a physical, when you look around, you see other people like you, what do you see? Their physical dimension. And the same way, you cannot love yourself if you're ignoring your spiritual dimension. You could not love other if you ignore their spiritual dimension. Now, what is love? And that's why Hashem connected it, as we said, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ani Hashem. Why this addition of ani Hashem at the end of the mitzvah? We have 600 mitzvahs in the Torah, not in all of them it's ended ani Hashem, I'm God. Because the key to understand how to love reacha, your fellow, is to understand that there is ve'ahavta et Hashem elokecha. Because you could love Hashem, you could love yourself and your spiritual dimension and the spiritual dimension in the others. And that's what Hillel actually told to this person. He told him, you want me to summarize to you the entire Torah? Let me tell you, what is the entire Torah? The entire Torah is to love your fellow the way you love yourself. So first of all, you have to love yourself. In order to love yourself, you have to know your spirit, that you have a spiritual dimension aside from the visible physical dimension. Then you love yourself. Then you love other by understand that they are not physical or just physical, but a spiritual in a physical. Okay, now how do you love? What is love? So maybe you heard that love is actually the practical implication or manifestation of love is giving. Giving. Rav Dessler, in a book called Michtav Eliyahu, says the following. Many people made a mistake and think that when I love someone, I'll give him presents. Presents shows that my appreciation or love to a person. He said it's just the opposite. You do not give to the one who loves. You love the one who you give to. And the reason is the following. The secret of the word love in Hebrew. Let me tell you a secret over here. Okay, we have three things that we discussed before. First of all, you have to love yourself. Then there is a commandment to love the others, and the only way to do it is by the commandment to love Hashem, to love God. Now, what is love? The secret of the word love is the following. In Hebrew, how do you say love? Ahava. So look at the word, ahava. Ahava has, in Hebrew, 4 letters. Aleph, Hey, Bet, and Hey. If you switch it to numbers, Aleph is 1, number 1. Hey is number 5. Add it to the 1, we got 6. Bet is number 2. Add it to the 6 that we have already, we have 8. And then we have another Hey at the end, right? The other Hey is another 5. Together is number 13. So Ahava in numbers is the number 13. It says here, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ani Hashem. And we said that the ani Hashem is referring to the mitzvah to love Hashem. Where it's written, as we said, as I showed you before, it's known in Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha. Now take 2 words. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, ve'ahavta. So ahava, we said it's number 13. But it's the same number of the word Echad. Echad. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Echad is also 13. Take the numbers again. Aleph is 1, Chet is 8, together is 9, with another Dalet, which is 4, bring you to 13. So, Ahava and Echad equal 13. Thirteen is a very important number in Jewish philosophy. 13 is the bar mitzvah of boys. But they become bar mitzvah 13. We heard about 13 attributes. Hashem, Hashem, Kel, Rachum, V'chanun, Erech Apayim, V'rav Chesed, 13 attributes of mercy. I don't know if you know, but there are also 13 rules. ב-13 מידות התורה נדרשת. 13 מידות are the way to understand the connection between the written Torah to the oral Torah. I'll not go to details over here, but what is the common denominator? Connection. Before you bar mitzvah, you're not connected to the obligation of performing the mitzvah. The bar mitzvah take a young person and make him connected to the obligation of behave or do or run your life in the Jewish way. 13 attributes of mercy came as a secret to Moshe Rabbeinu after Chet HaEgel. After the sin with the golden calf, Hashem wanted, according to the attribute of judgment, to destroy the Jewish nation. Moshe Rabbeinu prayed, daven, and Hashem revealed to him the 13 attributes of mercy. That if they will do tshuva and they said the 13 attributes of mercy, they will be reconnected, the Jewish nation and Hashem. The 13 rules of how to learn the Torah, 13 midot שהתורה נדרשת בהם, are the connection between the oral Torah and the written Torah. And the oral Torah, as we mentioned in brief in the beginning, is a necessity. Without it, you could not understand the real meaning of Hashem by the mitzvah that He gave us. So we find out that it's a connection. Now, if we want, again, to understand what love is, what ahava is connection. One, or oneness, is the ultimate connection. The meaning of this, as we said, a healthy person loves himself. Why? Why I love myself when I love myself? As we mentioned, because I am aware of my two dimensions, the physical and the spiritual, aware of both, understand that they have different tendencies, and work hard in order to make them work in harmony. That will cause, for me, love to myself. Because if each part of myself functioning and actualizing, I feel good. But be aware why I love yourself. Because it's me. As we said, love is oneness. I love myself because me and myself is the same one. In love is oneness. But according to this, you could love only yourself. How could you love someone that is not you? If love is oneness, in order to love anything, you have to be one with it. We mentioned that the key to understand how to love the other person, other people, is to love Hashem. How do we love Hashem? Being one with Him. How could we be one with Hashem? When I give, again, why I love myself? Because I realize my two parts. I understand that they have opposite tendencies, and I work hard to make them work in harmony. By the way, in order to do that, I need instructions, and the instructions is the Torah. Torah are instructions how to actualize or make the harmony between the body and the soul. So I'm putting in effort. Putting in effort is giving. So that will explain why I love myself. But how could you love Hashem, let's say? I'll tell you, this is deep, but this is the key. Hashem created us in His image. And we said, in brief, that there is some similarity between us and Hashem. Hashem is almighty, therefore no one will force Him or cause Him to do something. And He gave us this gift to be a free willers. He Himself is not interfering in our choices. We are making the choices for good and for the opposite. But we are doing this and Hashem is not interfering in our free will. Now, when I, as intelligent free willer creature, aware that there is God and He gave Torah, and in the Torah He told me, do this, don't do that, but He gave me a free will to take it in account and do according to what He said or ignore it, right? So my work is to realize or verify that this is the truth, the absolute truth, and work on myself that even if I have different wants, I will fit make my wants fit the wants of Hashem. And this is actually the work that we should do in order to make the body and the soul works in harmony. So actually, when I, as a free willer, accepting with my free will the authority of God and deciding that I'm do anything according to His wants, I have to sacrifice a lot, because sometimes my wants, my desires are not necessarily going with what Hashem commanded me in the Torah. So if I'll decide to ignore or push aside my desires or my wants that not fit what with Hashem wants me to do, I'm sacrificing. When I'm sacrificing, I'm giving. When I'm giving from myself. The more you give, the more you love. And this is the way to love God. To love Hashem is to give, but you could not give to Him, He's almighty. But you could give from yourself. Here it's very interesting. You could give, Hashem will not get because He doesn't need to get, or you could not give Him. Anything that you have is from Him. You could not give Him, but you could give Him actually the privilege of free will. So in other words, you said to Hashem, you give me free will, meaning that I could do this or that, or this or the opposite. Meaning, to do what's right, what you want, what you told me to do, or to ignore it, right? This is my free will. You know what? I don't want a free will. I'm saying to God, I don't want two sides, two options. I want only one. I want to do what's right. The other one, I'm giving up. This is giving. This is a lot of giving. And this giving, this sacrifice, is your ability to love God. And this is the meaning, ואהבת את השם אלוקיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. So the love is to give. Okay, so we understand how do you love yourself? By putting in effort and giving, making harmony between your body and the soul. We understand how we love God, giving up our wants or desire that not fit what's right, what Hashem wants us to do. How do you love your fellow? You have to love your fellow only after you love yourself. How do you love yourself? Working on the harmony between the body and the soul. This is a big field. You know, it includes 613 instructions. And this is the 613 mitzvot in the Torah. And that's what Hillel told this non-Jew who want to convert. You want to convert, you want to summarize the entire Torah in one sentence? The entire Torah is, you have to love your fellow the way you love yourself. How do you love yourself? Making the harmony between the body and the soul. In order to do this, you need the 613 instructions. So he told them, this is the entire Torah. But you could not do it without learning the 613. Therefore, he told them, "Ve'idach zil gmor," go learn, go study. There are no shortcuts over here. So he made him aware that there are no shortcuts. You have to do it this way. Okay, let's summarize it, because we have to summarize this. Those were a lot of information, and as you feel, I think you could feel that there are much more in order to understand how the mitzvahs make the harmony between the body and the soul. We have no time to go into it. But let's summarize it. What is love? Love is giving. Because when you give, you give. And the more you give, the more you have investment. You love the investment because the investment is you. The more you give, the more you love. The mitzvah to love the other is to realize that the other person has a soul and a body. When you meet someone, you do not meet a physical entity, a physical thing. A person is not there. The physical is just the package. In the package, that's the outside. The inside is the soul and the free will. In order to love someone, you have to realize their spiritual dimension, their soul, their neshama. So this is something that you could work on. As we asked in the beginning, how it's possible to command to love, if love are feelings. So either you have them, and the commandment is extra. You do not need to command me to feel, I feel. Or if you do not have them, what's the point of commanding? By commanding, I could not create feelings. I just make believe that that's not it. Ve'after kamocha is a mitzvah that you could achieve, you should work on. What is the work? The work is to realize that the other person has a soul, a neshama. In order to do that, you have to internalize that you yourself is a neshama. You are not a body. You as a neshama, you are a soul in a body. If you see yourself this way, you could see in the others the same thing. Now, when you go around and see people and see their soul, then you could develop connection. Connection it's between soul to soul, not body to body. Body by itself is limited by time and space. Therefore, there is no real possibility of connection between two physical things, because each one of them has the border of time and space, and therefore you could make them. You could make connection between them, but you could not make them one. And love is oneness. It's not a connection. It's a oneness. The oneness could not be in the physical level dimension, only in the spiritual dimension. And because you have a soul, and your fellow has a soul, the connection between the oneness could be in entities that has no limit in time and space, and those are the souls. So by the souls you could make the connections. Practically, today we facing hard times. Everyone has some level of uncertainty of what's going on. How could we relate to the situation, to ourselves? So everybody has actually thoughts of relation between ourselves to the world around us, to Hashem, to the closest society around us. The things that we should or have the opportunity now to work on, especially at this time, is this mitzvah of Ve'afta l'reacha kamocha. This mitzvah is not a mitzvah that Hashem gave us to hard times, like Corona times, or uncertainty in politically situation and everything. It's a constant mitzvah. But The hard time that we're going through now give us the opportunity to deep our understanding of who we are, and therefore who are the others are, and the working on this should start from yourself. As I said, let me just emphasize this. You could not love anyone if you do not love yourself. ואהבת לרעך כמוך. It's all on the base that you love yourself. In order to love yourself, you have to be aware of your soul, that usually you could not see in the mirror, as we said. And you have to give or make the soul happy. The soul and the body, both of them. You could do it only through the instructions of the Creator, which is the Torah. In order to love yourself, you have to do the instructions of Hashem, which is the Torah. The more you do it, and there are always room for improvement, either by quantity, if you do some of the mitzvot in the Torah and the others you are not doing, so start to do the things that you were lazy until now and pushed aside and say, no, one day, this is the day. Just do whatever you do not do yet. If you do in general everything, there is room of quality. How do you do? How do you do? And this is the room for us to express our free will. Do it better. Do it in higher level. Every mitzvah. You start it from yourself. Then you will see others, and you know that the other person has a neshama too. And even if this person is not behaving or behaving in a way that you do not like, it's okay not to like wrongdoing or wrong behavior. But it's not okay not to love the person. Let's separate between the person to the action of this person. The person has a soul. He doesn't operate it. He or she doesn't actualize it, but they has it. And therefore, I have to love them, not necessarily their action. And the more I love them, I will have motivation to share with them the truth or make them motivated to do what's right for themselves. Not for me, for themselves. So they could actualize their potential. And this is the mitzvah of ואהבת לרעך כמוך. This way, if you understand it, will give us a complete different way to look at people, at ourselves, at the situation. And at this time, maybe this is the opportunity to work on this, or actually being stronger in this if we already, again, there are quantity, there are quality. Anyone who is okay with the quantity, now it's the time to work on the quality. And that's basically what we could cover in this class. And I hope from the information that we learn, we could gain something, each one of us, I think, at least material to think of. So this is it. Thank you for listening. I don't know if it's if you want to. I mean, I finish here, and if anyone wants to ask question, I don't know if it's okay. But if it's part of this way that you teaching over here or giving the classes, this is the time. All right. So thank you. All right, now you could open your microphone if you wanted to say anything.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi Kalazan.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
Thank you, Rabbi. This was so helpful.
Good, good, I'm so glad.
Thank you. I'll listen again. It was wonderful.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, bye-bye, have a good day.
Thank you for giving to us. It was beautiful. Thank you. You gave us a lot.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.